Very support.
All right, we are here today with Miss Cornelia, and I am super excited to share with you guys all about her business, bohoLIVING, and we were honored to have her in the Top Knot Tribe Box this last quarter. So, Cornelia, welcome. So happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Okay, so first off, share with us, what is your business?
So bohoLIVING is what it's called, and it's mainly like fiber art, bohemian inspired home goods and accessories. But the step beyond that is like I help women or sometimes men find their inner like creative and inspiration through the art of macrame. So it's mainly macrame. But it's kind of more than that, where it's this sort of lifestyle and this sort of dream chasing inspirational vessel, basically. So I have, my logo is kind of the VW bug. I have a big vintage Airstream that I plan to like travel with when traveling is okay.
Yes.
But it's more about because of the time right now, the season we're in. But it's more about like finding your dreams and act like chasing them, and whatever that sort of looks like, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Amazing. And for people that don't know what macrame is, can you kind of share a little bit more about that?
Yes, it is basically the art of knots. So if anyone has any memories from the 70s, it could have been something that if you were, a young girl in the 70s, it could have been something you did in Girl Scouts, or if you were in high school or college. For me, my aunt had the big macrame owls and the plant hangers hanging up in the house. So it was like, it's a fiber, so you can use cotton, rope, or any sort of rope really. But it's just the art of knots. So you can make these big, huge wall hangings or small wall hangings, or you do belts and earrings and plant holders. There's all sorts of things that can be made, but simply put, it's just the art of knots.
I love that. And over your right shoulder from where you are, that is that one or the other one?
Oh yeah, that one. So yeah, my right shoulder. That's one of the pieces that we did that's has some floral on it. I didn't know you could see that one. That's like, oh, that's your dream catcher. So that's one of the workshops that we'll do in person, but it's so we do it on a ring, and then we add like florals, and that one's all dried out. But it's like flowers that will dry nice, and you can change it out for the season. And we just go over some basic knots, get you started, and then you have some room to play and sort of make it your own. And it's a lot of fun because we all start with the same sort of idea and pattern.
Yeah.
But everybody's turns out different.
Yeah. So no, that's so cool. And I love that it's such like a creative outlet for somebody that has anxiety. I feel like just that knot making and that all of a sudden design that comes out of it. I really feel like, with you being a yoga instructor too, there's that kind of like Zen aspect that comes with it as well.
Well, I think when I say like I found macrame, it's more like macrame found me, because I had been doing sort of like bohemian inspired jewelry and things like that, but I came across a workshop myself, and it like just really spoke to me. And I think I fell in love with it for that reason, because it is very meditative. And being the yoga instructor, it's kind of like bridging it. It's sort of like massaging all of it together. But yeah, you can, and what I like about it, because you can crochet or you can knit, but with like crocheting and knitting, you got to like count your things, your stitches. And here you can more so see it. There's not as much counting. There's counting when it comes to like setting up your project. Sometimes you need to have there's certain knots that are made out of multiples of 4. So sometimes you got to think of it in the big picture when you're creating a pattern or a project, but it's not, you can just totally zone out while you're doing it. Like you can pop on, Netflix series and be done with a big wall hanging in whatever time it took to binge watch your favorite series.
Right. That seems to be a popular thing nowadays with all of us stuck in too. So, okay. So what or why are you passionate about what you're doing?
I think it's like a combination of things, because I think it indirectly speaks to this sort of like bohemian hippie, like dream chasing sort of, there's this word I looked up. So when I was first starting, I had kind of this market, like I was doing these markets and selling jewelry on the side, but I was kind of like looking for this like business name. And I liked the idea of like the Wanderlust idea, but that name's like taken, you know, there's the yoga mecca that has that. And I was looking for another word. And it's this Italian word. I don't know if I'm saying this right. So if there's anyone Italian ever watching, they can help me enunciate it better. But nefelibata, which is just sort of like someone who walks to like the beat of their own drum, that doesn't, like go towards social, like regular social norms. They kind of like a cloud walker, a dreamer.
Yeah.
And, but it wasn't like in a bad way. It wasn't sort of this, unresponsible way, at least how I read it. So I really liked that. But I also knew like not a lot of people would recognize it, nor am I Italian. So it didn't make sense to have that, but it was just that word stuck with me. So that's sort of what drew me to it. I think kind of like I was born in the 70s, so it has this 70s connotation to it, even though there's a bigger history of it. Like, like Queen Victoria, her ladies in waiting used to do macrame, and Mary of Scots, her ladies in waiting used to do macrame. And the most interesting was sailors used to macrame, because they would have all this rope, because it's knots, and they're like, a lot of them are sailor knots, and they would do macrame wall hangings and these big pieces that they could use to barter with to get more supplies. So then they would get more supplies, and then they'd be on the boat for a very long time. So I thought that was interesting. But I think what I also like about it is it became really popular in the 70s, which was like this woman's movement in the 70s. And now it's like resurfacing, and indirectly it's been this like women's movement again. So just a lot of different things about it. I like how it's like soft, and it sort of brings a room together in like a soft sort of way. It can easily be put together with other pieces and art pieces and whatnot. So just a different way to look at art. And I'm not a good drawer or painter, so at least I don't think I am. I guess I should actually try it and say that. But it was like a way to be artistic that like resonated with me the most.
And I love how you say that too. Like we have a very, I like to call it eclectic home, where we have some contemporary pieces. We have some very, like a lot of textures. And even in our bedroom, I added like a dream catcher, like what you have back there.
Yeah.
And at first my husband was like, okay, we have like the preppy look going on, we have like the contemporary, we have the whatever, and then we have this thing. And I'm like, yeah, but it just brings this totally different dynamic to a room. And it's like white, and it's clean, and it's just like really subtle. But I am the more artistic one, I would say, in our family, and I love the bohemian style and all of that. But trying to find, the best of both worlds, it really does just add like that art piece almost.
And I love how it doesn't have to be, because there's the bohemian style that's like all these fun colors and this Moroccan sort of feel with magentas and oranges and stuff. But I also like how it can have this very clean look, where it's like white, excuse me, white with like green plants and like sort of that mid-century sort of modern mid-century boho. So it has these two different sort of more apparent styles. But I also like how, because I'm raised it, like I was born in the Midwest, and I sort of have this like Midwest roots with California soul. So it's like kind of combined. So it actually has like a little bit of a beachy feel, but then you can easily pair it with the farmhouse feel, because that is very soft and cozy. And like there's a lot of pieces that are you can make them very warm and cozy, especially like adding florals and dried florals and stuff like that. So I love how it can kind of morph into all these different. So every house really should have macrame. They
really should.
They really should. Yeah.
Okay. So have you always known you wanted to be an entrepreneur and have some sort of business? I think you kind of have a story about this.
Honestly, like 5th grade craft show, I had all the crafts, like, the idea, I had paper route, I had the idea of, yeah. And I always worked on some sort of side hustle, side business, and kind of found myself with some of the MLM companies. But I never felt like it, as much as I loved the products, because it didn't come from me directly, it didn't resonate with me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I also, is my, like, I'm 110% when I'm at a company, or at least I try to be, you know, we all have, we're all human and we're all normal. And I loved like the teams that we had, but there was always this part of me that was like, I can work harder and harder and harder, and you're not guaranteed a raise, you're not guaranteed a job, you're not guaranteed anything. So it kind of just made me like think like, like if I want to provide for myself, or if I want to, I don't want to rely on somebody else.
Yep.
I definitely had that part of me where I was like 10 years old riding my bike like 10 miles and, you know, come home and my mom was like, where'd you go? And I was like, oh, I rode my bike to, you know, blah, blah, blah mall. And she's like, that's like 10 miles away, you know? I just always like did my own thing. Like the Nefelli Bata, like walked to the beat of my own drum, like did my own. So yeah, like I think it was just having the confidence in myself to just totally jump ship and whatever, all of the stuff that means, you know, that's, it's a lot more. So yeah, always knew in my heart I needed to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I am the same way in that, those third grade aptitude tests that we had to take, and mine came back entrepreneur. And I just remember going home that day because I couldn't read, like I didn't know what the word meant when I opened it. And I'm like sitting in my class and everybody's like nurses, doctors, you know, psychiatrists, whatever. And I'm like, we're entrepreneur. I don't even know what this means. And I was like so disappointed. I'm like, Mom, what does this mean? She's like, oh, it means like you're going to, you know, own your own business one day, or, you know, you have this avenue or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, it made more sense to me. And now to where I am today, after having 5+ businesses, it's like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, like it makes sense.
Yes.
I think too, I mean, I don't remember what my third grade aptitude test, like you're going to make me, I'm going to call my mom after this.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Do you remember? Like I ask her sometimes when you do like the chart and you need to know like the time you were born. She's like, I don't know what time you were born. Just 4 of you. Like, I just remember being in the hospital. Like, I don't remember what time it was. But I remember in high school, we had this marketing class, and we wrote a letter that he would send us 5 years, 5 years, I think. And it was like, you're going to own your own restaurant and you're going to do this. At the time, like I worked my first job. I mean, my first job was a paper route. And before that I babysat, but, my first job where you know, like Uncle Sam, where I was like, who's FICA and why did they get my money? And it was like 14, I think. And I worked in a restaurant and I just loved it. Like I loved the energy and everything of a restaurant. So when I was in high school, it was like, you're going to own your own restaurant and you're going to do this. And, I don't know if owning my own restaurant is the direction I want to go. Cause now I'm know a little bit more how much harder that is if you're going to be an entrepreneur and the smaller profit margins and all that. And, I don't, not that you have to like to cook, but I don't, you know what I mean? Like there's processes that I'm like, nah, maybe a coffee shop. Maybe I'll retire with a coffee shop or an ice cream place. But
oh my gosh, that's my dream, coffee shop.
Yeah,
I feel like I could live in a coffee shop.
I know, right? Just give me coffee and community. Like those are like the two biggest things: coffee and community.
Yes, no, I'm there with you, sister. Okay, so what is the biggest thing that you've learned as a business owner? And I want to piggyback this off of with the times that we're in right now and how long you've been a business owner with your current business, and now seeing the ebbs and flows. What are like your biggest takeaways as a business owner?
I think like it's a constant learning experience and taking nothing for granted. And it's still like being part of my reason for getting out of the 9 to 5 is like, it's not guaranteed. Like your job is never guaranteed, but not relying on somebody else. Like I feel much more comfortable with relying on myself.
Mhm.
And not because I'm a micromanager, not because I'm anything else, but knowing I could be resourceful and knowing I can get scrappy
Yep.
and knowing, you know, knowing all that. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a wild ride. But yeah, and I think learning about myself, even learning my strengths and weaknesses and what I'm good at, what I'm not so good at, like
Mhm.
where I need help, asking for help. Those are all very humbling experiences, and knowing how to like embrace that
Mhm.
and then let it embrace things and then let them roll off, not getting stuck with things too. So,
Yep.
and I feel like your mind works totally different than people. Sometimes you're like, how come you don't get it? Like, so you have to like pull it back because not everyone thinks the same way. Like other people are totally fine with I mean, having a job can have a very secure feeling too, because you have somewhere to go. You have somewhere to wake up. You have somewhere to go. You're going to have a paycheck on Friday. And, where I'm only going to have a paycheck on Friday if I do like this, and this, and then I may or may not have a paycheck. So there is a different security there. It's like
Yep.
how you perceive it and the balance between the two and the give and take between the two.
Yeah. And would you say too, I mean, even with, the COVID-19 stuff going on and you doing a lot of like markets and vendor shows and that type of thing, and now having to pivot, your business, for the person that has a 9-to-5, they don't have that quick opportunity to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's, delivery service type stuff that they can do, or, get a new job at a restaurant, but that's not always the case either if they don't have any openings. But being an entrepreneur and being able to go, okay, I have this product, I know how to do this. What's now an easy way to shift this, to shift my mindset, to shift my business? And I feel like that's such an advantage point as an entrepreneur, to be able to look at a situation and go, okay, how am I going to figure this out? Would you agree?
I totally agree, because you already see things, you already look at things in an opportunistic, not in a bad way, but you look at how, I don't want to say this because I don't want it to seem like this is an opportunity. I mean, it could be, but I personally struggle with thinking there's opportunity in this hardship and this trauma, and that there's opportunity at the price of what we're going through. But I also feel like entrepreneurs are somebody who always sees like, what can I do to serve? What can I do to make it better? And how can I make this? I mean, there's no harm. I think it's coming to grips too with there's no harm in like me making a living to pay my bills as much as it is somebody else working for somebody else to make a living to pay their bills. I'm not trying to take advantage of the situation. I'm just trying to serve in the best way I know how, and be able to pay my living, to have my livelihood. So, but I feel like as an entrepreneur, you're in that mindset of what can I do? Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Sometimes your brain doesn't shut off ever.
Right.
It's not necessarily of just like ways to constantly make money, but it's ways to constantly like make a living. It's ways to constantly like have security, or when that security is taken from you, know that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like now I was all set up with events through like March and April and May, booked solid, and then it's all wiped. And there was kind of a calming feeling about it. I mean, I had there's no income coming in now. So it's kind of like, just like getting laid off.
Right.
Without the option, I mean, there is the option now of like, you get laid off or let go or whatever, there's unemployment, but that's a touchy subject now because we don't know what that looks like for small businesses, or if they're ready for it, or how that's going to roll out. But I'm also in the mindset, like, I'm already seeking other ways, like where I don't want to rely on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have, it's like, looking at what things are out there that can help, but it's like finding ways to pay that forward after it happens.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, but you're already looking at things in a different light and differently, I think, than other people. And whether that's good or bad, it just is what it is. It's not one or the other, you know?
Yeah. Well, and almost going back to, you know, because I've been an entrepreneur since 2009, and knowing all of the different things that I've done, and now getting to this point where it's like, okay, what do I have in my toolbox that I can pull out from way long ago that will benefit somebody during this time? You know, almost being that knowledge broker, you know, of knowing, okay, here's an opportunity. What tools do I have to make this a reality type of thing? So yeah, I totally resonate with you on that one. What advice would you give to a woman out there that wants to start her own business, especially right now?
Ooh, be okay with like, I went into it messy. So I would say hindsight, kind of dot your I's and cross your T's, get Kendra's course. so you know all the things going into it, not trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Ask for help when you need it. Don't feel like you have to know everything, because you're not. It's like what I tell my niece, she's 10 and sometimes she has like struggles with school. And I'm like, that's why you're in school, to learn. You're not supposed to know it going into it. So wanting to be an entrepreneur, see, now I can't even say it. You don't have to know everything before you start. It's a learning process, but to start and try to, and make sure you ask for help, like seek the information. Don't feel embarrassed if you're going to your accountant, like, I don't know what to do with all this.
Oh, yes.
You know, and if somebody can't help you because it's not in there, just to keep going and asking, like that is hard, and it's humbling when you know you messed up, or not even messed up, because it's like a learning experience, but when it's not clean and crisp. Yeah. The more entrepreneurs I get to know, the more it's like we all didn't have a clue, like, and we wish we did. So find what you can, seek the resources. And again, your course, like the outline is just like, oh man, I wish I would have known.
I know.
There's probably still things I don't know that I need to know. But yeah, do that. Do some research, but don't be afraid. Like even in this times, don't be afraid, because there are, you know, there's companies who are benefiting from it. And again, like not in a good or bad way. I don't think anybody's, I say this humbly, like trying to take advantage of this situation. I'm sure that people are, but I think if you have something that people can really benefit from now in this time, that you have gifts that people need, that you are, and I don't mean this to sound pressured, but you have an obligation to the world, to yourself. I mean, that's why, you know, when you look at a bigger picture, like God, the universe, whoever you believe, whatever you believe in, like you were given those for a reason. You were given those for a reason. And I feel like the more we embrace that, and the more we get over ourselves in a way, and let the world see those and give them to people, the more we'll have world peace, you know what I mean? The more we're like, I think we're going to be a lot closer to that after all of this is said and done, because it is bringing us together in a weird, awful sort of way, but it's almost like, you know, I was giving you warning signs. It's like we're all putting like time out now, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird thought to think, because it's at this great expense. But I really hope we come out of this so much stronger, and so much more united as a globe, as opposed to all this like worry and, you know, and all that. So,
well, and it kind of opened my eyes too, to go, okay, as a business owner, can I run virtually if I'm an in-person business? Can I still connect with my clientele on Zoom? Could I travel? A big thing for me and my husband is we love traveling. And so can I take my business anywhere in the world with me? You know, and it's really unique things like that, especially right now, where, you know, with the subscription box, with some of our past products that we had left over, I was like, why don't we put together these really cute gift boxes, because people aren't going out right now, but we can still send that to somebody's address. You know, it's like, I had these products on hand. What can I do with them? How can I spread the word? How can I share something?
And like brighten somebody's day.
Yeah, just little tweaks like that, where it's like, okay, it's not the subscription box, but it is products that I can send for somebody else with a little handwritten card and a note to say, you know, how you doing? Hang in there. This is hard for a lot of people. So yeah, it's such a beautiful time, even though it's a very stressful time for especially women that want to start their own business now, to sit back and go, okay, that thing that I've been putting off for so long, I finally might have the time to do it. And yeah, with I just want to touch on the course. Why I created that was for that specific purpose. Like, business building is so natural for me, and for so many women, it is not. The financials, the foundation, the timeline, the specifics, the products, the wholesaling, the retail, the whatever it is, if you're a maker, yes, it is incredible how many things I had to learn the wrong way.
The wrong way, and the wrong way, and the wrong way, yeah.
Before now, I finally get to go, okay, don't do this, do this. Don't do this, do this. So yes, lots of obstacles. For our last question for today, what do you want people to know or remember about your company, your products, and you?
Oh, that I'm unapologetic in doing what I love.
Love that.
That I'm for sometimes I say for any other reason than to prove everybody wrong. But I'm vivacious in that sense, that I'm going to keep going till it keeps going. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to keep going with it. Because if it doesn't work the first time, it's going to work the second time. And it's like recognizing success comes in all sorts of different forms. So, you know, do I have a 7-figure business right now? Absolutely not. But, you know, is that something to strive for? Sure. Is it something that's going to happen by the end of the year? Probably not. But, you know, it's just keep going, keep pushing, keep swimming. There's going to be good days and bad days. So if anyone's going to remember that, and, you know, art comes in different forms. So just to try. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being a guest and for sharing your beautiful pieces in our subscription box. And actually,
I forgot to wear the earrings too. I was like, I've been home. I'm like, I showered for you.
I forgot. I know. But you're beautiful. Your blog is going to go up today on our website, and this will be up on our YouTube channel. So.
Thank you so much for all that you do for all the women entrepreneurs. It's really amazing. Really amazing.
Love this community so much. It's women like you that make it possible. So.
Oh, geez.
All right, Cornelia, thanks so much.